Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
Local news, politics, business, sports, arts, music. Mike and Marty on the beat. Mike and Marty. Mike and Marty.
Good morning, Rockingham, and welcome to the feed. It's Mike Smith and Marty Gallagher. Here we are on June 30th, 2021, the last feed of June, coming up to July 4th.
I know, then the summers are going to go flying
Yeah.
by.
The summer has hit us hard these
It
last
has
couple
hit us
days.
hard these last couple
We know
days.
it's summer now, there's no doubt.
But it's been so green this year. I mean,
it's amazing.
Gardens are flourishing, flowers are flourishing. Everyth's been beautiful this year. It's
Yeah.
almost like everything reawakened
I
this
know,
year.
it's really cool. We went to the farmer's market, we told you,
Mm-hmm.
and the stuff they have. I mean, our garden, I guess we planted late, but there I saw places that have celery that's like a foot tall already.
Wow.
It's just amazing. Anyway, local events.
Local events. Well, just reminding everyone of the farmers market. It's open now through September, every Friday afternoon from 4 to 7 down at the Waypoint Center. They have quite a list of vendors. I gave the list to you last week. So there's vegetable vendors, locally sourced meat vendors. I think there's some craft crossover craft vendors. So there's lots of vendors. Make sure you stop by. Reminder that the Opera House is open. We're going to keep reminding you so that they can you can remember to go get your triple ups and go see the movies. Movies are now $6, but the triple ups are staying the same dollar amount. Speaking of things reopening and rehappening, the Rockingham Old Home Days is back.
Yeah, I just saw that yesterday.
Yeah.
Everything is coming back. That's really cool.
It's not necessarily going to be in the same exact format, and they're still working out a lot of the details. But the details so far, they'll have food trucks, they'll have music, and they'll have karaoke.
And I heard fireworks, but I've
it
heard
didn't-
they're working on
Yeah, I
fireworks.
didn't specifically say the fireworks, so I didn't want to like get people's hopes
Yeah.
up about that. So we'll,
Okay.
didn't want to be passing along misinformation yet.
Yeah, okay.
So, and you have some events to talk
Oh
about.
yeah, and then another thing that was not going to happen, but now is going to happen, is the Saxons River 4th of July.
Nice.
They're not going to do a parade like they're famous for in the past, but they're going to be open. I mean, they're going to have an event at 9:30 on the square, and they're going to do. They're going to read the Declaration of Independence. They're going to do the Star Spangled Banner, and then people are going to sing songs. And I think it's going to be not as big as it used to be, but I think it's still it's an event that we're glad to see back.
Glad to see back and a little more maybe traditionally honoring the 4th of July.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then the Baptist Church this weekend is doing their chicken dinner, suggested $7 donation and it's going to for the Rockingham Free Library. That's
Nice.
They're going to be there.
And
So it's the first Friday.
First Friday dinner. They do
Yeah.
them. They do them every month, right? They pick a different charity each time. Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
And so we have chicken dinner fundraisers. I think that's it. Frog and Toad. Did we just say about
Frog and Toad, right? This is the second week of Frog and Toad down at the Waypoint Center. It looks like from the pictures I've seen that the first week went well. It was people attended for sure. So it's July 3rd and 4th. Contact Next Stage Arts for more information or for tickets. And if it's a David Stern production, it's going to be a great production.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of things that we really like,
And that are back.
that are coming back really fast, we're going to talk today with Susan Still from Main Street Arts, and she's going to tell us about how they are coming back, what their plans are, how they're sort of changing their mission a little bit, and then what they're going to do this summer. Susan, how are you?
I'm great.
That's really, it's good to have you on. It's good to have you here. And then I guess you're brand new to Main Street Arts as far as being on the board, I guess. You're a patron and a supporter, but you've just recently been put on the board. How's that, and how do you feel things are going?
Things are going really well, but it's been a lot to handle to bring back. The former board mostly left at the beginning, towards the beginning of this year. And so we have new people, including some people who've been on the board before. Mary Hepburn, the founder of Main Street Arts, actually invited me to get involved. And she knew that I have a background in consulting to nonprofit organizations. And I told Mary I would be happy to get involved, but I would not be on the board. So you see how that goes.
Yeah, that we know how that goes. Famous last words, right?
One of the very first things that we did as a new board of directors, we started officially April 1st, was we looked at the mission of Main Street Arts. And last year's board had decided to change the mission of Main Street Arts, which had been very community-oriented, multidisciplinary since 1988 when it was founded. And because the theater program with David Stern had been going so well, they decided to really turn Main Street Arts into a theater company with the idea that theater encompasses all of the arts. So it encompasses set design and costume design and scripts and so on. And so the new group of people who came in this year said, we'd really like to go back to the old mission. And the old mission is that Main Street Arts is a catalyst for arts and community, fostering creative expression through artistic experiences accessible to all. And so it's we're going back to a very multidisciplinary, grassroots approach that Main Street Arts is known for.
That's wonderful.
So you've gone back to the roots of Main Street Arts, and Main Street Arts back in the day was really kind of the center and focal point of Saxons River. It was the community space, the space for a lot of things to happen. So I think that's a wise choice to go back, especially now as we're emerging. People haven't seen other people, and we need that sense of community.
Right.
Main Street Arts has always included non-arts activities. There have been language dinners and strength training classes, and the perennial swap started at Main Street Arts. And as an outsider, as someone who moved here only 8 years ago from the Baltimore, DC area, I thought, well, that's strange. They're doing all kinds of non-arts things. And then I realized this is a community center as well as an arts organization. And so we're really going to go back to that broad definition of what the arts are. They're all those creative things that bring people together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really glad to see that, because I sort of remember that because I'm not really new to the area, but Main Street Arts has always been this sort of eclectic group of people that got together and did interesting things that were really a lot of fun. And some of them may have seemed to be, I want to say trivial or trite, but they used to do community. I mean, if they did a play or something, it was really something that a lot of the members of the community could be involved in, and it wasn't just some actors. Not that that's a bad thing, but it seems like right now, like Marty said, it's like time to sort of get back to the base and the roots and the primary mission, so that you can build community.
Yeah, and you actually, from what we understand, you reached out to the community with a survey, didn't you, to kind of find out what the community wanted. Is that correct?
We did that, and we got an amazing response. About 250, more than that, people responded with what they were interested in. And we're not going to stop there. We're really changing our approach. Instead of making a product and then trying to sell it to the community, we're really going to co-create our programs according to what people are interested in. What I'm hoping we'll do is to have some events in August and September to bring people together and ask them, you know, what are you interested in? And creating some interest groups, and then creating classes or performances or events out of that, rather than saying, well, let's we have some teachers, let's schedule these classes and maybe people will find that convenient. So it's really an approach where we ask first and then create the programs with people.
Yeah, which makes more sense.
It does.
I mean, it
yeah.
makes sense on both sides, but I think that when you're trying to recreate yourself, that certainly is more time efficient,
Yeah.
because you're not throwing spaghetti on a wall and figuring and then finding out that, okay, that class doesn't work because nobody can come at that time, versus 10 people have told us they can do this time,
Yeah.
so that would work. So that's smart. You have some artists collaborating with you?
We do. We've got 5 people. Some may be familiar, some may not be familiar to our audience. One is John Haddon, and John Haddon has done some of the directing at the Great River Theater Festival and has taught a Shakespeare acting class at Main Street Arts before. John lives over in Londonderry, and he's happy to come over and be involved in Saxon's River. He has a great project that I'm looking forward to happening, called Hardware Stories. And if you think about what happens in community meetings, and we've had some of these in Saxon's River, and people say, oh, gee, we used to have a hardware store in Saxon's River, and things used to be so much better. We had a gas station and all of these things. And a hardware store represents some of those practical things that go on in our villages in Vermont. The project of Hardware Stories involves young people, middle and high school students, interviewing elders who do things like farming or carpentry or other essential jobs, and gathering their stories. And John is going to turn this into a script and a performance for the young people to do, along with beautiful portraits, photographic portraits, I think, of these elder storytellers.
Oh, neat.
So that's one project. Bronwyn Sims is another person who does theater, different kind of theater called devised theater. Actually, you've just interviewed Bronwyn.
We did.
on
Yes,
the
we
feed.
did.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you know all about her work. Bronwyn is working with us, and Bronwyn is also a dancer and a yoga teacher and a clown. She does a lot of other things. And then you probably know Charles Norris Brown.
Yes,
Charles is an artist. He lives in the Exner block and he works for Robert McBride at RAMP. So he's very connected to the visual arts community in Bellows Falls. And Charles is heading up our gallery program. In fact, starting 4th of July this weekend, we're going to have our very first gallery show again, which is presented by the Canal Street Gallery.
Oh, nice.
Mike Noyes.
Uh-huh.
And that's going to run for, I think, about 6 weeks. So Charles is planning the gallery, and Charles does things like teaching figure drawing and teaching cartooning, which I know a lot of people, including my grandkids, would be really interested in doing. So Charles is looking at visual arts. We have a brand new resident in Saxon's River named Gabriella, known as Gabby Zlocki. And Gabby is an expressive arts therapist. So this is something new. One of the things that I think we all need right now are things like stress reduction. And art is a great way to do that. So Gabby has experience working with a whole range of ages and populations, and she and Bronwyn actually are looking at developing a wellness program for Main Street Arts. And then the last person is another brand new resident of Saxons River. Her name is Catherine Despont. And Catherine moved to Saxons River to finish her first novel. I think it's her first novel, her current novel anyway, before she turns 40. And those of us who are a lot older know that that's very young. But Catherine not only has experience as a creative writer, but she developed a program in Brooklyn that was an arts education and a publishing company. So we've got those 4 people who have very different disciplines. You might notice that we didn't include music, and that was really happenstance, because these are the 5 people who have come forward with a lot of enthusiasm. Because they are in this group does not mean that we're not going to be involving lots of other artists, including musicians, in the programming for Main Street Arts. So they are working together, really looking at how do we become using arts for community development organization.
I think that's really, I mean, just the programs you've talked about, and it's all things that we all could take advantage of. And that's where community, being a community center is important.
Yeah, that sounds like a really strong, diverse group that are enthusiastic to do something that is a little bit different. And I really like the idea of creating wellness, because there's this a concept I've been hearing about called lingering dread, that people, even though the COVID is almost over and things seem to be getting better, there's like this dread that people can't quite let go of yet, because it's like almost what's gonna happen next,
or is it going to happen again?
Yeah.
Or, I don't want to get too excited about this, because what happens if we shut down again? We'd never experienced that.
Yeah,
and to have that happen.
So I think you're doing a good thing.
Yeah.
Is your consulting background helping you work through these processes? Because it sounds like you really do have a long-term process. And I think maybe that's one of the things that, and I don't know, speaking for myself, sometimes not-for-profits have difficulty doing, is getting through a long-term planning process. They want to have it done, and they want to, get it.
Just do it.
Do it.
Not plan it.
And whether or not your board has enough dedication to do that is something. But anyway, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how is that working as far as you applying what you knew as a consultant to Main Street Arts?
So my consulting business, which was called Still Consulting, I'm retired now. But it was focusing on the health of nonprofit organizations. And it helps me a lot to know that there actually are patterns of dysfunction in nonprofit organizations. And Main Street Arts is no exception. And that's nobody's fault. That's just the way nonprofits are. Yeah. Sustainability is really difficult. Nonprofits are typically underfunded. So yes, one of the things that I taught at community college was nonprofit leadership. So I'm really focusing on developing the board of directors. I'm focusing on strategic planning. We're going to begin our new strategic plan next week. And one of the real pitfalls of strategic plans, and boy, stop me if I talk too long here. I know we don't have much time left, because I really love strategic planning, and I know not a lot of people do. But a real weakness of strategic planning when you bring in a consultant like me is, okay, you can afford to pay me for a day or two to do the mission, vision, values, and maybe a couple of big goals. And then we turn it over to the staff or the volunteers to do the action plan. And that's where things really fall down. So I know those pitfalls. And we had a wonderful strategic planning process in 2016, which Dudley Blossom led for Main Street Arts, and Dudley is a real expert in marketing. And it really didn't get down into the nitty-gritty. So we're doing that right away. We're getting right into, how do we deal with our facilities issues? How do we deal with volunteers and so on?
Nice. I was
Right.
taking notes.
So was I. I'm not even.
Mission, vision, values, goals, action plan. Got it.
Okay. Anyway.
Anyway, we digress.
We digress, and we're sorry. So I guess hitting the ground running is what you're doing, and you mentioned volunteers. How are you looking for volunteers? Are you and if volunteers, if people wanted to volunteer, how would they do that?
Every nonprofit is looking for volunteers, I think, and the trick is finding the right fit between people's skills and the skills that are needed. You can always go to our website. You can see that on the screen, and it's completely updated. If you click on info at Main Street Arts, it actually comes to me. So I will try to keep up. So we're also looking, one of the big things we're looking for is a volunteer coordinator, because one reason that volunteers don't stay with an organization is they haven't been properly trained and recognized and so on as volunteers. So we'd really like to develop a robust volunteer program.
Nice.
Good.
And you do have we're down to about 3 minutes, and we do have a graphic for an event, events that you have coming up that you're calling a picnic with Main Street Arts. So do you want to just briefly tell people how to find out about the artists?
Yes, if you go to our website, mainstreetarts.org, there's a list next to the graphic, and you can click on each artist, and you can find out more about that artist through that link. You'll notice that we've got 2 theater events. We've got the Vermont Suitcase Company, and if you've seen them before, you're in for a really funny treat. The same thing with Punchi, which comes from Sandglass, and I've seen it before, and it's just delightful. The other groups are music groups, and you're probably familiar with many of them. So we're looking forward to all of these. Do come with a blanket or a chair, and buy some dinner from Smoke and Bowls, who will be there every time.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, we want to thank you for being on. We're just about out of time. Hope that you'll come on again and update us maybe more toward fall of what the fall events are going to be, and keep us up to date on how your progress is going as far as reforming Main Street Arts and the board and finding volunteers. But it's been wonderful, and I want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Very excited about everything you have coming up, and we'll do anything we can to help you get the word out.
Okay. And I believe that
believe
may be it
that's it.
for this week. Thank you, Bellows Falls. We'll see you in a week. This is Mike and Marty and The Feed.
Bye, community.
Local news, politics, business, sports, arts, music.